This Dallas Cowboys signing took everyone by surprise, so we're gonna be going through that and 5 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Dallas Cowboys news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel hitting that red button down below. The first story is Dallas Cowboys, and specifically Micah Parsons wants former Cowboys rival free agent on Dallas defense, and it could be happening very soon. Dallas Cowboys star linebacker Micah Parsons really wants the team to sign a free agent away from one of their division rivals. The Dallas Cowboys are looking for answers once again this offseason to figure out what they need to do to get to the NFC Championship game for the first time since the 1995 season. They have moved on from offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, with head coach Mike McCarthy expected to call plays heading into next season. Then, the team has to figure out how to get their cap space in order to continue to build a playoff-caliber roster. During an appearance on PFT Live with Mike Florio and Chris Sims, Cowboys star linebacker Micah Parsons was asked who he wants the team to target in free agency. Parsons says he would like to see the Cowboys add defensive lineman Daron Payne from the Washington Commanders. "I like Daron Payne a lot," said Parsons. Micah Parsons wants Cowboys to sign Commanders DT Daron Payne. Adding Payne to Dallas front seven alongside Parsons and defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence certainly looks dominant on paper, but Payne is in line to receive a hefty payday in free agency. Spotrac currently projects Payne's market value to be $19.4 million in annual salary. Payne was selected with the 13th overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft by the Commanders. With that, he joined fellow Alabama Crimson Tide defensive lineman Jonathan Allen in Washington, D.C. After a solid first 4 seasons, Payne really shined in his contract year. Playing in all 17 regular season games for the Commanders, Payne recorded 64 combined tackles, 20 quarterback hits, 18 tackles for loss, 11.5 sacks, 5 passes defended, 1 fumble recovery, and 1 safety. As a result of these numbers, Payne was selected to the Pro Bowl for the first time in his career. Payne, along with Javon Hargrave of the Philadelphia Eagles, are the top defensive tackles available in free agency. Teams looking to shore up the interior of their defensive line will certainly target Payne, but they will likely need to give him a lucrative offer to add him to their roster. Given Dallas' cap situation right now, that may be a bit tough for them to add him. It has been rumored the Dallas Cowboys are looking to make a move on this quicker than we thought. The second story is CeeDee Lamb provides candid reason Cowboys aren't winning. CeeDee Lamb has thoughts on why the Dallas Cowboys are unable to get past the glass ceiling they've been running into for the last several years. The Dallas Cowboys have not gotten past the divisional round in the Dak Prescott era. In fact, the Cowboys haven't gotten past the divisional round since the mid-92nds when the team took home a Lombardi trophy at the conclusion of the 1995 season. The team has been defined by the word mediocre for quite some time now, which simply shouldn't be the case with Dak Prescott, a 2-time Pro Bowler and former Offensive Rookie of the Year. Under center, Prescott has flashed the talent of a Super Bowl winning quarterback at times, but something has held him back from taking the next step in recent years. Is that on Prescott? CeeDee Lamb thinks he knows what that something is. CeeDee Lamb stands behind Prescott wholeheartedly. To him, Dak isn't the issue. He thinks there's not enough talent around Prescott to get the team over the hump. The third story is the best way for the Dallas Cowboys to keep running be Ezekiel Elliott. Dallas Cowboys Ezekiel Elliott currently has the 5th highest cap hit going into the 2023 offseason. Elliott continues to express desire to return to the Cowboys for his 8th season, but won't be able to under his current contract. As far as the position as a whole, his running mate Pro Bowl RB Tony Pollard is looking for a nice extension, but may be forced to play under the franchise tag, as his deal is much more complicated than a normal RB deal, which leaves Elliott in his $16.7 million cap hit. The Cowboys have a handful of options for how they can approach it this offseason. If Pollard comes back, on the tag or otherwise, Elliott cannot maintain his current pay grade. Assuming Elliott would come back on a reduced salary, his role cannot be someone who has more touches than Pollard. If Elliott is to come back simply as a short yardage, pass blocking, receiving, lead blocking back, it's not only as RB2, but perhaps a modified position. There's no doubt Elliott still has plenty of value as a player despite not having the same burst as his earlier seasons. However, his value may be best served as a modified fullback, A similar build to All-Pro Kyle Juszczyk, Elliott's role is no longer that of the lead back but has the skills necessary to make a second career should there be interest from all parties. The Dallas Cowboys often had both backs on the field at the same time, and so a continuation of it could still lead to solid results. Even with Pollard coming off injury, the Cowboys will lean on the run under Mike McCarthy's system. Enacted by new OC Brian Schottenheimer, the Cowboys have seemed content on a 50-over-50 split in the past, but Pollard over the last 2 seasons has shown to be the better back in the present day. Making a transition from RB to FB isn't necessarily an easy move for Elliott, but he still possesses skills to become a dangerous weapon out of the backfield. If the Cowboys bring him back to be a true RB with his skill having deteriorated, as they have, it's only more of the same, showing loyalty to a player at the detriment of the team, something that has yet to work out in their favor for long-term success. Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott is dividing opinion among those in Cowboys Nation, with the veteran seemingly slowing down with his on-field production while his huge contract is still burning a hole in the salary cap. Some think Dallas would be wise to move off the 2-time rushing champ, but not receiver CeeDee Lamb. Despite Elliott having career lows in total rushing attempts, yards per game, yards per attempt, and rushing yards, some want the Cowboys to take the out that Zeke's current deal offers them. But does Lamb want Elliott to stick around? Yay, of course, Lamb said on NFL Network's Super Bowl Live, "Zeke has always been a weapon here. I feel like his work that he does for this team and this offense is underappreciated. He does a lot of the dirty work and, man, this offense goes through him." That's a wonderful sentiment, but while the offense didn't necessarily go through Zeke this past season, in certain situations, he was the brutal, physical style runner that complemented Tony Pollard's quick, toe-tapping feet superbly well. But if Dallas did decide to part ways, Elliott still has a dead cap hit of $11.90 mil if it opts to release or cut him. There is the idea of undoing Zeke's deal and the running back taking what can be described as a significant pay cut to stay in Frisco stems from. What Dallas does with its former first-round pick remains to be seen, especially with Pollard hitting free agency, but if Lamb has his way, number 21 will be at the star for the foreseeable future. The fourth story is why Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer will help Dak Prescott. The Dallas Cowboys needed to make a change on offense, so they decided that their offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, quarterbacks coach, and running back coach services were no longer needed, leaving many wondering who was going to call the plays going forward. Well, that question was answered after it was reported that head coach Mike McCarthy was going to be calling the plays this season. Still, when you bring in offensive line coach Mike Solari and then name Brian Schottenheimer as your offensive coordinator, it's clear we are going to see a complete overhaul of this Cowboys offense. The simple but effective offense that Kellen Moore ran in Dallas just starting to become predictable, and putting Schottenheimer in that role will add more misdirection and more play action in an offense that for some reason every year under Moore just failed to deliver at the heading into the playoffs. The combined offensive knowledge that McCarthy and Schottenheimer have over Moore can only benefit quarterback Dak Prescott and this offense overall. So let's take a look at a few areas where this Cowboys offense will be able to get better. 72.8% of the plays Prescott ran under Moore were straight drop-back passing plays. That means Moore, knowing he had an underwhelming receiving core, put a lot more pressure on Prescott to find receivers that were open, most of whom couldn't consistently create separation. Compare that to just 27.2% of play actions plays that were called, and you can see why it was easy for defenses to just drop back into coverage and make plays on the football. If you don't have any misdirection in your play calling, you're eventually going to allow the defense to dictate what your offense is going to do, and at times that exactly happened thanks to Moore's play calling. McCarthy and Schottenheimer aren't going to allow defenses to dictate what they want to do, so we should expect to see more play action and pre-snap motion in order to help Prescott read the defense, as well as forcing these cornerbacks and safeties to creep closer to the line of scrimmage using Schottenheimer's play calling in the running game. During his time in Seattle, Schottenheimer ranked 6th in run play rate, which allowed him to set up the play-action passing game, which under his watch came in at 8th in play-action rate. With the running backs the Cowboys have on the roster, Schottenheimer is going to be able to lean on that running game to help Prescott manage the football game and make plays when he needs to. It will be especially helpful in the red zone, an area where Moore just couldn't seem to find any consistency or success due to his limited play calling. Schottenheimer, on the other hand, has been one of the more successful offensive coordinators in red zone scoring offenses thanks in part to that misdirection and his willingness to have his quarterback run the football enough times to be a threat a defense must focus on, again opening things up for Prescott should he actually throw the football. The fifth story is Dak Prescott upset or happy about Cowboys' new coach change. Is all of the involved parties in the Dallas Cowboys move away from Kellen Moore to Brian Schottenheimer as the new offensive coordinator in place to help head coach Mike McCarthy install his West Coast offense in 2023 have made their peace with the change, except, that is, the guy most impacted by it all. "I'm upset," said Dak Prescott. "Oh, that sounds bad." But Dak added about Moore's move to become the coordinator with the Chargers. "I'm happy for him." As CowboysSI.com reported from the start, this isn't a soap opera of conflict. Rather, it's McCarthy wanting to take charge, in his way, in a way he believes can take the Dallas offense to another level. As Dak indicates in this quote to the Dallas Morning News, Moore was valued by the QB, and we can tell you he was valued by the Joneses and by McCarthy as well. But philosophically, McCarthy is ready for another step, a different step forward. And we would add this, while the coach is the boss and while the player is his student, and this student happens to also be the just crowned NFL Man of the Year, the Cowboys would not be making these moves without the at least tacit approval of the quarterback. So Dak in reality is surely upset, happy and excited about the changes to come.